Manchester United 3, a Bodø, a Glimt 2, an important 3 points for Manchester United in the Europa League, but of course also Ruben Amorim's first win at the club. And to be honest, the scoreline wasn't really a fair reflection of the game. 3-2 suggests this was close, it was cagey, it was a tight football match. That wasn't the case at all. Manchester United were by far the better team. They completely dominated the possession, the territory, and also the chance creation. So today we're going to look at why United were so impressive on the ball in this football match. But before we get into that, if you guys could quickly subscribe to the channel, that would be greatly appreciated. Once you've done that, we'll get into the video. So no messing about here, let's get straight into the tactics and look what United looked to do on the ball. And straight away, the shape that United were using was very obvious. The 3-4-3 was in full effect, and particularly in deeper areas when we are trying to build the ball and dominate the ball and control possession, Manchester United were very much in a 3-2 shape. You can see that in the passing network, and that's a really good thing so early on in Amorim's tenure at the club, seeing very clearly what the identity of the team is in terms of the shape that we want to use. Now, in terms of how United played in these areas, it was actually really impressive. I think the profiles that United had on the ball here were really useful to the team. In Mazraoui and Lisandro Martinez, you have got two genuinely elite ball progressors. In Bruno Fernandes, you've got an amazing progressive passer. And then Ugarte and De Ligt, who are both good, solid retention options. And you can see that in the way that these guys played. The ball retention was really there in the deeper phases. And that gave United the platform to take control of the football match. As a result, we know what's going to happen. Bodø Glimt are going to drop a little bit deeper, try and get players behind the ball, try and block off the spaces. And then it's all really for Manchester United about dominating the game, progressing the ball, while still keeping control and not letting the game become too hectic. So how did United look to do that? Well, to be honest, by using tactical overloads in key areas of the pitch. The first overload that we can see is in the midfield. We can see that Manchester United have 4 players: Bruno Fernandes, Ugarte, Mason Mount and Alejandro Garnacho. The opposition, particularly when the striker was a little bit higher, only had 3 players in this area, and we can see these two sort of half-space positions which Manchester United could potentially exploit in this game. This was something that United were looking to overload. The other thing we can also see is United getting the overload on the last line of attack as well, as the 2 wing-backs push forward, Antony and Malacia, alongside Garnacho and Mason Mount with Højlund in the middle. United generate a front 5 attacking situation, with the opposition only defending with a back 4. So in terms of tactically looking at the blueprint, looking at purely the shape, United have got the overloads. Now it's about patterns and execution to try and move through that. Now the first method of ball progression which became very clear very early in this game was long switches of play to the far side to the wing back. So for example, Manchester United would be building possession down the right hand side. Antony might have the ball, he might pass it to Mount, Ugarte, and eventually we work the ball backwards. Once we got into these situations, we were always looking for that big switch to the far side, particularly to Tyrell Malacia in the first half. And basically, the reason we were able to do this is because the opposition were defending with a back 4, which meant that they got sucked really narrow, and it leaves a lot of space out wide in these positions. And we can see Manchester United really taking effect of this. The 3-2 shape here, the basic formation is there very clearly for all to see. What we are going to do is get the ball to Bruno Fernandes, who we know has this amazing long passing range, and he is going to find Tyrell Malacia in the space over the far side of the pitch. The only problem really for Manchester United from this position was that it was Tyrell Malacia receiving the ball. Now of course this is a guy who has missed a lot of first team football, it was great to see him back. But in terms of actual individual performance level, he's not the biggest threat in the final third of the pitch. He's not someone who can really regularly go 1 versus 1, and it did cause a bit of a problem for Manchester United down this side because the space was out there, but the final delivery was really poor. Malacia only completed 1 out of his 8 crosses, and they weren't really into great areas, kind of generally speaking. Fortunately, Ruben Amorim actually addressed this really well at half time. He brought Tyrell Malacia off and brought Dalot onto the pitch. Now again, in terms of on face value, this still doesn't look that great because Dalot's not a great final third player, he's not a great 1 versus 1 dribbler. However, in terms of structurally, what United actually did in the second half was Garnacho started moving a little bit wider, and Dalot would make an underlapping run inside the pitch. Now this is clever profiling from Ruben Amorim, because Dalot is a player who we know excels in tight spaces a little bit more, he's good on the half turn and things like that, so it makes sense to play him in here. But in terms of utilising the big switch to the far side, Garnacho is a better option to have here, because he's a winger as opposed to a fullback, which means he has more dribbling threat, and he should have better final third delivery. And we did see the effect of that in the second half. So in the first half, Malacia struggled a little bit with the final ball. When we get Garnacho into these positions, again, initially you can see the 3-2, Lisandro Martinez plays the pass in behind the defence, And this time it is Garnacho in the wide position, attacking the space. And once in these areas, like I said, naturally, this is more of a winger profile. He's more used to playing in the final third of the pitch. He's a more attacking player. And he really took advantage of this, finding players like Mason Mount in the box. And Mount should probably do better. He hits the crossbar here. But I think he has probably got to play it to our friend Anthony up there. But regardless, it's a really good change from Ruben Amorim because it allows Manchester United to now start taking advantage of the tactical overload. We've got a space out there, but now we've got a player who can actually attack it. The other thing that United looked to do in terms of progressing the ball forward was again utilising the wide areas, but by keeping the ball on the near side. And for large parts of the game, that was the right-hand side. Now what United were looking to do here was really quite clever. With Mazraoui being centre-back, and then Ugarte moving forward in midfield, Anthony dropping deeper, and Mason Mount moving higher. What you get essentially is this diamond shape from Manchester United down the right-hand side. 4 players really close to each other that can combine. And a lot of the time, the opposition are only going to be defending with 3 players in this area. You know, the centre-back can't really come across and join because Rasmus Højlund is pinning those players. So you can see you've got a little 4 versus 3 on this side of the pitch. Then all you need is good combination play. And we had the players that can do that. Mazraoui, again, a phenomenal ball progressor, phenomenal technician. Ugarte had a really good game on the ball. I was really impressed with his performance. Anthony perhaps didn't have the greatest game, but we know he's got a good first touch and he can find a pass inside the pitch. And then Mason Mount is, to be honest, an absolute dream in these situations because he is so good at receiving the ball on the half turn. He's clever with his passing. He attacks space well. It actually worked perfectly down his side. We've got an example of this in the first half here. You can see Manchester United very much in that diamond shape with the 4 players. And initially you can see there's only really 3 opposition defenders ready to deal with this, which simply means all you need is a little bit of technical quality, good timing, understandings of movement, and you're going to find open space. It starts with Mazraoui. He plays the ball inside to Ugarte, and you can see the obvious pass. It's out wide to Anthony. United do exactly that. Find Anthony in space, and then you get the underlapping run from the inside forward. So this is the wing back playing it to the underlapping run from the inside forward. We all knew we were going to see this under Ruben Amorim. To see it so early is a really good sign. Mason Mount gets towards the final third and then puts a good ball into the box. Ugarte kind of receives on the edge. He swings it in. It doesn't quite turn into anything, but it's a really good pattern. And United again have progressed the ball really effectively. And then in the second half, it works just a little bit better. Again, the 4 players, the positioning is a little bit different. It's not quite a diamond, but it's still 4 players close to each other on the right-hand side, and it is the same 4. That's the important thing here. What United do is combine. Mason Mount starts higher, creating space for someone else to receive the ball. Mason Mount eventually gets the ball, flicks the ball around the corner. Ugarte attacks the open space created by Mason Mount. And once Ugarte is in the final third, it's a really good ball across the box. And who's in the middle? That's right. Our striker has a clear-cut chance created for him. Would you believe it? It's really good football. Just the other thing that I wanted to discuss in terms of Manchester United's threat in the final third was how at times it became an even more attacking structure. And that was because one of Ugarte or Bruno Fernandes would move a little bit higher. Particularly Bruno Fernandes often ended up in the final third where he could have shots at goal or swing crosses into the box. We know he likes to do that. I think at times this was a real positive for Manchester United because it allowed us to attack and create overloads. At times it was a negative because the opposition did have a bit more room to counter-attack. And defensively, I still don't think United were great at all in this game. There's some real concerns there, but it's still early on. If you want a video on the changes that Amorim made during the game to improve the defence, let me know in the comments down below. I think the ideal for Ruben Amorim, when we use this structure, is that when we lose the ball, we've got to be quick. The response has to be quick. You have to be onto the opposition, snapping into tackles, trying to win the ball back. And the reason he wants to see that is because when you do it, it works. You can see the evidence here. Manchester United, a lot of players really high up the pitch. Ugarte is actually our highest player, and you've also got Bruno Fernandes on the edge of the D. This is a lot of players committed to the attack. This is risky attacking football. But it does mean when you lose the ball, you've got a lot of players high up the pitch to react to things. And Mazraoui and De Ligt here are really proactive. These are 2 of our centre-backs, but they step forward. They're aggressive to win the ball back. Mazraoui then turns into one of the best footballers I've ever seen. What a performance, by the way. What a player. But the play from Mazraoui is amazing. He eventually gets himself into this position, crosses the ball into the box, and I mean this first touch from Rasmus Højlund with the left foot is dreamy. It's an unbelievable first touch. The fact that he follows it up with this finish into the far corner is even better. It's really good attacking play from Manchester United, and generally speaking, I think on the ball, United were really good. Of course, there are still issues. There is going to be. The players are trying to understand a new system. But this was a much better performance than what we saw at the weekend. The build-up was much better. The profiling of the players felt better. Having the ball progression in deeper areas was really key to a lot of that. But also the attacking threat, the change to get Garnacho a little bit wider. It was all really good from Ruben Amorim. There are still execution issues. Players are going to take time to adapt to those sorts of situations. But ultimately, for the second game, I thought this was a really good performance. I think 3-2 really flattered Bodø Glimt. I don't think it should have been that close. United do have defensive concerns, which I'm happy to cover. If you guys want that video, let me know in the comments. But apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed this video. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.